Krishna. Hey, Bobby. Let's see. Okay. I'm not hearing you. No. 1 2 1 2 testing testing. I know you're speaking because I see your lips are moving, but I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Oh, but I can't hear you. Try going into the settings. That's right above in the center of the screen. Yeah. Mhm.
Yo,
Hey, Permanaso, I can hear you, and Bobby can hear me, but I can't hear Bobby. I don't know if you can hear Bobby.
Bobby, say something. Nope, cannot hear
Hmm.
Bobby either.
Okay. Hmm.
No, I'm only laughing because I remember going through this exact bullshit, man. You remember, dude? It was like we went through the same shit. So we just got to
Yes,
get through it. We know we can do this because we've been through this before.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yep. And for some reason, every time I do another one of these or with another client, it's the same thing. It's like, holy shit, why is it so hard to get through the first time? Once we have it down, we have it down, and period.
Yeah, no, because now, I mean, if you think about it, when I get online with Phil, he's got this thing wired. He's got it figured
Yes,
out.
yes.
He's got it down. So we.
Yeah.
Oh, is that Bobby? Oh, is that Bobby?
We're getting the feedback, Bobby.
Say something. Say something. Nope, we cannot hear you now.
No. No,
He,
we'll get
he,
it down.
he's the Verizon guy walking around. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Nope, can't hear you, bro.
Nope.
Bobby, if you want to communicate anything to us other than "Can you hear me?" Just type in the chat box here. Yeah.
Uh, I remember. I'm trying to think back at the different solutions. It was always like call back in, reboot. What do you
Yes. Yes.
see? Bobby's a make sense guy. He's trying to figure it all out.
Yep. Hmm.
I can see his frustration over there. Hey man, it's all good. We love you, brother. We're feeling you right here, bro. Feeling your pain. Oh man.
Okay.
Fede, what else do you remember that we can encourage Bobby to try that?
Well, a couple things on his end. I know that Windows is sometimes very funky, and you've got to have as part of the system setting, the actual microphone that you're wanting to use. That's one of them, and the other one, of course, is whatever Google, the Hangouts overrides through the control panel within the Google Hangout, which Bobby has already tried. I already suggested that to him. So Bobby, the only other one I can suggest is find whatever your system preferences for sound are and just make your whatever system you're using as the default. Those are the only, that usually takes care of things. Otherwise, I mean, just log off and come back out, come back on. Join this video call. Okay, I see somebody. Okay, you're coming in again.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, it's vague. It's
Vaguely,
a little faint, but we hear you.
Yeah.
All right. Hold on. Let me switch.
That's much better. Yeah.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes, way better.
Okay. All right. I don't know what's going on. Ever since I got Windows 10 on that other computer, everything's haywire. I got to go through a fucking learning curve on Windows 10. The control panel that I'm familiar with isn't there anymore.
Yeah, dude, it's funny as it may sound, it's weird, but this has happened to us every time. Fede and I can like laugh about it, chuckle about it, but at the end of the day, we just got to do what we got to do.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. So, okay. So, I'm thinking about. All right, whatever. I'm at my laptop now. Unfortunately, I don't have any files on this computer, but whatever. We can at least work through it.
Okay. Now I am getting some feedback from your other machine, and the reason I say that is because at times I can see you from the side.
In fact, I'm gonna. Let's see if I close this out. Let me see what happens.
I think that took care of it. Just muting it took care of it, Bobby.
Okay, I muted it, so we're good.
Good. I get no feedback now. Okay.
Okay. That's good. I mean, and we have a pretty good image of Fede streaming all the way from Venezuela. This is a good thing.
There we go. Yes,
Yep.
yes.
All right, very good.
Okay. So good.
Go ahead.
Okay, so what are the things we want to accomplish now, Rich? We have.
Well, for me, it was more about just testing again and seeing, okay, what happens. Let's just, like, for example, let me run a test on sharing a screen. Let me see what that looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
Just basic stuff.
And the other issue Ridgely was saying to me, Fede, was that before there was issues with playing a video from his computer, as opposed to a preloaded video. And do you really need to play a video on this particular webinar? I mean, if
no, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm always just thinking about where are we going, what does it look like for the future.
I'm totally with you, and we need to get that part resolved, but at least we don't have to worry about it for now. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, no, and because we will have a chance really on Friday to brainstorm properly. But for me, we're just getting the machine rolling, and this is just one step of getting the machine rolling. I believe if you think intelligently, I mean, at least for me, what makes sense is Google is going to keep investing a lot of money into their tools. So if you look at all the possibilities that are out there, I'd say that sticking with Google is probably a good idea unless somebody has a better idea. We know that it's working really, really well for Phil, so I'm trying to, everything that I'm doing is running through the filter of not just today, but what does it look like for 6 months, 12 months? You know what I mean?
I'm on the same page completely, totally.
Yes.
Because I see already a number of things that I did with respect to Australia that need to be changed, learning things that I did that need to be changed, all that. But everything runs through the filter of forget about today. What's the future look like? What do we do? Not forget about today, but manage today with always an eye on what's the bigger picture on making this awesome for everybody.
Yeah, sounds great, Ridge. And one other thing that we did back when, and I remember that saved our butts in one of the presentations, is that, Ridge, you might want to send your presentation to Bobby and to me before you go, and then we can have it sort of queued up, because if anything goes on with yours, we have ours as backups.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to have a presentation, or is it just going to be freewheeling where you're actually going to do people's whys? Or I know you're going to run down the one of the PDFs that we have, I guess the tool, whatever one it is. I mean, I have them all. Just let me know which ones you're going to use. I would presume that you're going to do that, and then you're going to then do people's whys. Is that what's in your mind?
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because if you think about what we accomplished last week, leading up to last week, it was at such warp speed that it was largely about sheer volume, and let's put it all together in a way that works, and then we'll circle back and reevaluate and take a look and where are our assets and how do we deploy those and what do other possibilities look like and all of that. And so one of the things that came up yesterday in a conversation with Phil as we look toward beginning in Spanish is, wow, there's a ton of resources. Because we did it all so fast, we already have 50 PDFs to go along with this. 50. And
that's amazing in that short amount of time.
It's amazing. What we accomplished is ridiculous.
It's incredible.
And it only speaks to where we're going and what it looks like for the future and all the possibilities. So for me, I step back and say, okay, what do we need? Okay, well, for this webinar tomorrow, all I need to do is show a few PDFs, the 9 Whys, the Why Discovery process, maybe the strengths and challenges. That's it. That's all that's ever going to show up. Well, I don't need a video. We're just going to do this live. Because we're looking to build in the archives, the way I'm thinking is that that the title of the particular webinar goes along with a thought-out theme that fills out the product as we build it. So it's kind of like introduction to the why team building, and then in that one it has the 9 whys of this, and then it's advanced why team building, and then we go into something different. And so all those things begin to form part of our repertoire of stuff at a high level. That's what I'm always just trying to think like that. It's kind of like, Bobby, when you went and recreated the PDF of the verification questions. I mean, that was awesome. To me, that PDF goes in advanced why stuff. Yeah. Like in this introductory one, we're going to have introduction to why discovery, and then we're just going to talk about it. We're just going to show a couple, and we're going to do a few, and that's going to be the end. Now people go practice. We're going to have an advanced why building. That's the next one. So when someone goes into the archives, they don't just see a bunch of shit, which is what I see in a lot of archives. It's thematic. It's intelligent. This goes along.
And it has
with
a flow.
Module 1.
It has a flow too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and by the way, Fetty, I had to morph into Louis to make that because there was no time. So I took one of the other ones he made and I just modified it to be this one.
Oh, cool.
Did you see it? Did you see it, Fede?
No, I don't think I've seen it. No.
Oh, it's freaking great. I mean, it's absolutely great, and I'm not even sure we used it yet, did we?
Yeah, it was sent out on the one of the emails that we sent. Yeah, that was the reason why I was in a pressure to get it done because I had to get it out for the email. That was not the email for the
that was the 9 Whys that you and I had talked about.
Yeah, you and I talked about this, but after you and I had the discussion, I had to make a PDF for it. That was one of the things I had to do, and that's what I did.
Got it. Oh, okay. Cool.
Well, it's like, to me now, I think in terms of even the entire webinar schedule that we have set up, the way that I wrote the initial evergreen responders, well, that only works if you have a certain product sale. In other words, if we know we're having an ongoing community building webinar session where we're talking to our public all the time, then the reality is maybe we don't want to be sending out an email every 3 days to a new opt-in. Maybe there's only like 2 or 3 emails, and then the spacing becomes every month or every 3 weeks or something like that. I mean, I really, as we did when we first, if you guys recall back to when we went through the process of doing the product, the first thing we said to each other was, let's think about having a blank slate. We can do anything we want. We can start over. We can do whatever. And then we jammed to get the stuff done. We put together all kinds of material so it's very, very rich. And now I'm saying to myself, I want to step back again and say it's a blank slate. Let's pay attention. Let's learn from what happened in Australia. Let's learn from the follow-up to Australia, what I'm getting now, how many dropouts I'm getting, all of that. Pay attention to how we're marketing the product, how we're doing all of those things, and just constantly tweak. Every time we get it's completely the difference between a super tanker and a jet ski. We're a jet ski, and we want to be the most badass, turbocharged, fast-turning, quick-learning, wave-jumping motherfuckers that there are. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, I like the analogy. You're right.
Yeah. Because it's like that, and we can constantly tweak, and it'll get dialed and more dialed and more dialed and more dialed. Because I would love to be able to evolve from the only sales we're making is the lowest hanging fruit to a machine where we can project analytically a series of other sales, other options, doing other things, talking to Lance, whatever options are out there. One of the things that Phil said to me was, after reviewing the multimedia presentation, he said, I think this is great, but I think it's too much. And then I said to him, interesting, you're right. It's too much if someone hasn't been in a workshop with Ridgely. But if you've been in a workshop with Ridgely, it's not too much. It's too much if all you got was a view for 1 minute on Facebook and then connected with that person on Facebook, invited them to a webinar, then you're right. All they want is a download. All they want is something easy. So there's a lot of...
agreed. Totally agreed.
There's a lot of complexity to it that we can work out, especially with your watchful eye, Fede, and two Make Sense guys. We can definitely figure this out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm already gotten some ideas. Like, obviously, the webinars and the email series we're putting together are for people who have seen you, St. Louis, Australia, and that's one set. But when we start building people coming to you from other sources, well, then it's a whole different way we go about it.
Well, and what I found myself thinking, and again, this is without enough thought, which is why I said, hey, let's set up a call for Friday, not like today. I need just a little processing. Plus, I got to go do a speaking gig real quick. Let's just constantly be willing to self-evaluate, self-critique. What worked? What didn't work? What do we need to adjust?
Love that.
And be, fearless about, hey man, that didn't friggin' work. We didn't get the result we wanted, or this part worked, but this other part didn't.
Yeah, and that's the only way you grow is by doing this, because you don't know until the market tells you, and whether they're prospects or whether they're clients, it's still the market, and you won't know until they tell you by their actions.
And that, by the way, is exactly what Luis Eduardo shared with me, and he's the most successful guy that I know on the rise like this.
Yeah.
It was all about the editorial the editorial calendar, which we have to make, haven't done that yet, and sticking to it, and listening to the market. Don't think you don't know jack shit. The only people that know anything is the market.
Right. And it's not what they say they're going to do, it's what they do.
That's
that counts.
Very good point.
That's
exactly right.
Yep. And to this point, I mean, something that is easy, again, in the way that we're engineering this entire thing, that it's all jet ski engineered. So say, for example, the multimedia presentation, even though it's one big, humongous thing right now, we can easily take a module plus its tool, and have that be an independent page, and therefore,
absolutely,
we give them little bits at a time, and we see what the response is. If it works, great, we keep doing it, and if it doesn't, we switch things around. Because yes, digesting that entire presentation all at once, it might be a great review, as you said, for somebody who's seen you, and at the same time, for anybody who's becoming a prospect, all of a sudden we've got 9 or 10 different emails that we can send to different components of that maybe go along with a webinar, or that goes specifically into why team building, or why leadership, or why marketing, or whatever we do.
Right.
So lovely. In terms of the architecture we've already built, and being able to tease things apart to make it work.
Yep.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
we're set up to do that very well. No question. I totally agree with you. Now, let me do this. As far as you, one of the things, let's not forget, you want to test your share screen and make sure that's working. So let's do that before we
Yeah,
forget.
let me do that right now. So I go over to
And you
here.
mentioned before the 9 Ys. What were the specific PDFs you think you're going to look? Maybe you can just send a quick email, or you can just tell me. I can write it down because I can
Well,
get them booted up and ready to go too as a backup.
so you should see me now. You should see 9Ys there, right?
Yes, the 9 Ys. I see that.
Right. And by the way, I will tell you something that I think is really powerful on webinars that Phil doesn't do as much, and I think it's just a stylistic thing, is I think it's perfectly okay to interact with your producer. So, like I know on live broadcast TV, they don't do that, but there is a reason why Johnny Carson had a sidekick. There's
Yeah.
a reason why, you know what I mean? There's a reason why that works. So I think it's perfectly okay to say, hey, Bobby, can you bring up the 9 Ys for us, please? And
Yeah, and I agree. And it's that. By the way, that's worked well with Harrison because I moderate his Q&A calls. You know, his Q&A calls, which he has them for different groups. He basically has a couple of them every month, and I'm very much involved, asking the questions, and so that has worked. So you're right. And the cool thing about it, once I get my goddamn microphone situation set up on my big computer, which I will. I guarantee that will be done before our call tomorrow night. The cool thing is I can utilize the Millennium Falcon as I've done with the other webinar I did with Fetty for our other client, and I can have a video queued up on one monitor ready to go. If you have some, now it has to be a video that's already done, but again, not for this one, but thinking toward the future, I can have one queued up on one monitor. I can have the PDF tool that you want to use queued up on another monitor, and all I have to do is hit a button and it goes to that monitor, and seamlessly you go to the video, you go to the one PDF, you go to a PowerPoint if you want, whatever. I know that works because we did that, so that's something that we could do,
exactly. You guys seeing the 9 Ys on here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just drop that real quick. Obviously, that's working. Okay, see, now I see Fede has lower third.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you
That's
do
something
that?
I should
I don't
probably
know how to
teach
do
Bobby
that.
how to do. Yeah, I'll teach you how to do that, Bobby.
Okay.
But we don't need to take Regis time for that.
No. Okay.
And actually, one thing that's cool for you is that you can do presets. So whenever you're wearing your different hats doing this, you can, use whatever preset you want.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh man,
this?
how did that happen? Now, why did I get a blue instead of a red? Okay, now that's just. Hold on, I'm just.
Fetty's got red. Yeah, you got to show me how to do. Yeah, I got to tell you, Rizzy, just so you know, I'm a novice at this, and I didn't know anything about this 2 months ago. I learned through what Fetty has taught me, what our experience has been with the other client, and we actually did a couple webinars, and I learned a tremendous amount, but I still have a long way to go.
Okay, I got
there you go. You got it.
Well, that's one, but that's an old one, so I got to change that up with a new video,
Right.
a new logo and stuff like that. But yeah, see, this my favorite one was this one, Fetty.
That's all.
You have to understand Spanish to get the joke.
Yeah, I do. Of course.
I made up a new word, Bobby. In Spanish, the musketeer is mosquetero.
Musquetero.
Y is porque, so I became the porquetero.
Porquetero, yes.
The porquetero. The Y Musketeer.
I
like it.
Well, and another one came to mind too. Is el porquetero is the porker, Bobby. So.
Well, that's me. I'm the porker.
All right, man. So, I mean, I think we're good then, right?
We are good. The only other thing I wanted to ask you, Fetty, and I still haven't had a chance to test the stealth thing. What I think I'd like to do, Fetty, how your time is, we don't have to involve you originally, but I was having some issues going to the interface that stealth provides, and I have a feeling it was on my end. And I want to make sure, because we gave that stealth link, we sort of had a drop of communication. I didn't know. I want to test that, so maybe we can do another one, just you and me. Fetty, you got any time later today at some point to do that, or how's your schedule look?
Oh, with
only for about 10 minutes, whatever.
I know. It's just that we've got to go out and do some signing.
We can
You know,
even
have
do
to
it.
leave.
We can even do it tomorrow morning if today's not good for you.
Great. Let's do it early tomorrow morning.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask you, Fetty, and it's important to know, I got that link. I did what you suggested for this webinar. I went and instead of saying webinar now, and I put in I wanted to have it at 11:30, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then I clicked on, but I wasn't able to get that link until I then clicked share, and that page came up. Now I didn't hit broadcast at that time, and I was able to get the link.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine I can do that 2 or 3 days in advance. It doesn't matter. That link is that link, even though I hit share way in advance of when I mean, could I hit share, get that link, close it, and then come back to it at the time, and it'll be all right? I haven't tested that. I imagine there must be for it
Let's
to work.
test that because there have been issues. I know Hubert and I ran into issues with that
Yeah,
before.
I mean, my
Yeah.
makes sense mind
Yeah.
says, wait a
Yeah.
minute,
Yeah.
it's working this way, but because we
And
only had an hour
yeah.
gap between
Yeah.
when I set it up and when it's happening. If it's a 2-day gap, what happens then? And I wasn't
Well,
satisfied.
here's the secret. Here's the overall answer. If you have to make sure that you do go into that right one. Otherwise, you know, things get messed up. And the
Well,
way I do it is you go into Google Plus and you'll see it there. The Hangout on Air is right there.
yeah,
And you
I,
just have
I,
to
I
go back
definitely
into
did
it and
hang out on
start it.
air. That part I did. I definitely went to hang
Okay.
out on air. I got
Yeah.
that down. I'm definitely hanging out on air. But
Okay.
I got the link, but in order to get the link, I had to hit share. Now I didn't hit broadcast. I
Yes.
had to hit share, even though it wasn't 11:30. I did it at 10:30, whatever
Right.
time it was.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Yes.
my question
Yeah.
is, I had that window open the whole time, and then so if I close that window and then just put that same link in at the time pre-appointed, it should pop up again, even though there's the
Let's test. Have that be part of our test tomorrow morning.
Okay, that's a good idea.
And do that and close it and log out of Chrome,
Yeah,
etc. And then just use
exactly.
that link to go back in. Yeah.
Okay, all right. That was the only question I had, and
Yeah.
and then I got to get my microphone situation fixed, and that's it. We're good to go.
Okay.
Okay, then
All
what
right.
I'll do is I'm headed down to. Let me talk these things through. What I'd really like to do, guys, is spend, if you don't mind. I'm sure, Bobby, that over the 8 years you've been working with Harrison, after a while you get to a place where you're in his own head. You know how he's thinking. You know what's going on. Whatever.
Absolutely.
Well, I would like to dramatically accelerate that process by dialogue. Fed has been with me a long time, so we have a much better understanding of how we each think, and he knows how I think, and it's good. But as a make sense guy, you and I can come up to speed for each other really fast because we share the same why.
Absolutely. I see what took me 9 years with Harrison, I could do in a month with you.
I appreciate
maybe
that.
less, maybe 2 weeks.
Well, and so where I'm going with that is I'd like to, at least for the foreseeable near term, just briefly discuss each situation I have in front of me so that I can bounce it off you guys, and you guys can say, hey, well, remember that didn't work so well. Remember that was good. Remember, don't forget to do this thing. Remember that to whatever, okay? Mm-hmm. So do you guys have like another 10 minutes? Is that cool?
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
good. I'm good.
Totally.
But let me just say before we go on to that, I just want to give you a quick reminder. When you come back from your meeting at some point, do you want to send me another email that will have the new, once Fetty and I'm going to test this even sooner because I don't know how soon you want that email to go out, Rich. I mean, is tomorrow too late? They've already gotten one email.
This says right here, second email webinar. As soon as I finish this phone call, the next thing I'm doing is sending this to you, and I don't think we should wait.
Okay, so that means that, Fetty, then I'm going to have to get the answer to that question before we meet tomorrow. So I'll test it on my own.
Or let's do it right after we finish here with Ridge.
Okay, we can do it because my question is, I want to make sure the link I put in that email is going to work, 24 hours from now. Just because it worked an hour from now, that's my question. I got to make sure I got to clear that in my mind. I don't want to send them a bad link, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. So let me tell you what I've got in front of me, what I'm thinking about, and get your guys' feedback and input. And again, this is the beginning of a dialogue with a channel that we have to market that is unique. So tomorrow morning I speak to Vistage. And as a recap for you guys, Vistage is one of the channels that I'm looking to make work that has this year worked out very successfully. Last year didn't work at all. So I know it sounds kind of weird, but interestingly, when I was with Lightspeed, I did maybe 10 or 15 Vistage events. The thing about Vistage is you have 3 hours in front of CEOs. Some of them are big CEOs, several $100 million companies. Some of them are little CEOs, generally not less than a couple million, because Vistage is expensive. Vistage costs $2,000 a month to belong to. So people who are spending $2,000 a month, what they get is they get this one day with their learning chair, what they call them a chapter chair. So their chapter chair, and then in that one day, the morning is 3 hours with a resource like myself, and then the afternoon they spend with their chair, and then each person gets a private coaching session with that same chair every month. So when they come in, they are not necessarily coming in to see Ridgely and what Ridgely has to say. They're coming in to see the resource of the month, whatever that may be. And so the positive and negative, the positive of Vistage is that the people are highly qualified, and if they want to make a decision, they can make a decision very fast. The negative of Vistage is that A, they're not as hot a lead as somebody who's specifically coming to see me, and B, they don't pay any money. So for me to go fly to Toronto to do a Vistage event, it takes me 2 days and 2.5 days to get there and back to make $500, which is what Vistage pays. They pay all expenses, but if I'm not able to close at least a deal per thing, then it doesn't make a lot of economic sense. You guys with me so far?
Yeah, totally.
So obviously, and of course, you're able to very, very softball pitch at the end, because these are high-powered CEOs. So a lot of it is how do you pitch them in such a way that they want to talk to you more, so that you have that opportunity, and how fast can you make that happen? Like probably the sale is going to happen at lunch. Like I go from 8:30 to lunch, and then I have my opportunity to kind of meet with the guys at lunch. If I'm not closing them to a phone call right then, the chances of my re-engaging one of those guys later is very small, right? Unless they specifically have a need that I've identified. So what happened last year is I was doing a lot of these events. They do act as training for me as a speaker. And one of the things that and Bobby, this is worth your putting in the back of your brain too, man, because whenever there's an opportunity to speak, even if it's an airy-fairy thing, if it's close by and painless, Ridgely needs to speak 4 to 6 times a month. That's my target, 4 to 6 times a month. This is not for sales purposes. This is for the purpose of staying sharp. To stay sharp, I need to present 4 to 6 times a month. So, and sometimes that can be virtual, so that's fine too. I'm just throwing that out there. So now back to Vistage. So this afternoon, I meet with the chapter chair. Tomorrow, and I'm having dinner with the CEO who's the host CEO of the event. Tomorrow, I'll be in front of 5 other CEOs that are Vistage members, some other CEOs that are non-Vistage members, that are prospects for Vistage, and some of their key executives. So call it about 12 to 15 senior ranking C-suite people. So I have 3 hours, and in that 3 hours I've got to give them a lot of value and somehow entice them to want to buy something. So what happened last year is I was able to sell maybe 1 or 2 small things to people when it was Lightspeed, but I was dialing in the process. What happened to me earlier this year was it was so powerful for one of the, I've only done one Vistage tour, and of that one Vistage tour, I immediately got a guy that said, I need this for my company, when can you be here? And that's kind of what I'm looking for as a reaction. It's not trying to think of if there's a dozen people in the room, can I close 4 of them? Because that's just not reasonable. It's if there's a dozen people in the room, can I get one of them to say, I need you at my company as soon as possible? Maybe 2 if I'm lucky, so that then that person turns into a $7,000, $8,000 situation so that it becomes worth it. We put 10, 12 people into our database that are highly qualified. They form part of our marketing efforts going toward, in the future, and I can lock down one deal. So that's the objective, right? And I like to think of it as being very reasonable, not trying to accomplish too much under the circumstances.
So now this thing you're going to today or tomorrow, is this one of these coaching events, or is this you meeting the people that are organizing this?
No, this is the coaching event.
It is the coaching event. Okay.
Yeah, when I get invited, I never get invited to a prelim anymore. I've done all that, and my ratings, Vistage, like EO and YPO, is all ratings based.
Okay.
So the way you get invited to speak more is if your ratings are high and people post something on the central database for Vistage chairs. By the way, what I'll do, because my channels are very specific and very targeted, Bob, what I'll do is each time we do this, we'll have a preliminary call where we talk about what the event was, a post call where we talk about what happened and what we could have done better, and we'll refine, so that you guys can both be part of the brain trust that helps me make this happen better.
I think that's a great idea.
Which I frickin' never had at Lightspeed, by the way. The only person I had helping me, which was invaluable, was Kathy. But Kathy's a very detail-oriented person, so she helps me a lot in this specific area.
Yeah.
Where I need more is in the high level. What have you seen that works, Bobby? What are you seeing that's worth Fede at CEO space? What are that's what I need the more help to make this resource better.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep.
So tomorrow morning I speak. We'll go there. I'll have breakfast. They'll do a little catch up, and then I'll have 3 hours. At the end of the 3 hours, I can't roll into a closing sequence Dave and Dustin style. I can't do that. So I have to be a lot more strategic. It's got to be like, this is what I did in Australia. In Australia, what I did is I rolled into here are the benefits of using these tools for your group. Let me take 10 minutes to show you how they work because I'm going to give you these tools. And then the idea trying to show them the portal, let them know they need one of these. Show them the portal, let them know they need one of these. Show them the portal, let them know they need one of these, and see who bites or see who says, I need you to come in. That's, at this point, is my basic strategy. I don't know how to improve on that strategy exactly right now, other than to focus a little bit on what's the follow-up when we walk out of there. Because right now, we don't have enough data to have the follow-up be automatic for each group. As I roll forward, it's more like I see that there's follow-ups if you're not allowed to sell. There's follow-ups if you're allowed to sell a little bit. There's follow-ups if there's a full sale possibility. And then there's the general dumping everybody into the broadcast database after they go through the initial follow-up according to category 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yes.
And you have category 4 that when we start bringing customers in online, like for example using Lance's system or other ways, that's pretty exciting stuff. When we get a chance, it's premature now, but maybe another week or so we can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, category 4.
Yeah. I mean, and then which of them go to webinars that are preset, that are evergreen, that are super tight? Which of them have sequences that show the tools? Which of them? I mean, in other words, all that stuff to me is let's focus on what we got to do now and focus on the long term simultaneously. Let's focus on now and the long term, so that over the course of time we're building a refined machine. One of the things that happened to me as a result of the this last whirlwind was the recognition that for Ridgely to be as effective as I can be, all this has to be planned out. It can't be, oh fuck, we got to send something out because we have a webinar on Thursday. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work effectively.
Yeah.
It's got to be, when we do this event, this is going to be the follow-up. This is where we're going to go.
Right.
When we do this thing, this can happen. And then, Ridgely, your next responsibility is tomorrow night you have a webinar. Okay, great. And on that webinar, and then after the webinar, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, this is going to happen. All planned out in an editorial calendar. And we can talk about it more on
Friday morning.
on Friday. But I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of the flavor. And if you have any suggestions for this Vistage event, great. Otherwise, we'll just do it and then have a debrief afterwards.
You don't have the ability. Nothing is recorded, right? Nothing is filmed or anything like that. I would imagine.
It has not been historically. However, that's not to suggest that it couldn't be.
Well, I'm just thinking if we were able to see it, or what happened, it might be more. But that might be overstepping your bounds to do that.
It might be without advance permission. So let me not do that on this one. But
no,
that doesn't
right. But
mean
I just thought about that because then there could be something we can visually see to critique. Not that we have to critique you, but maybe critique the
sure.
How do people react or whatever? Who knows? I mean, Fetty, that's more your area than mine, but it was just something that popped in my head.
That's certainly a huge element, and whenever it's convenient and I'm in the U.S. and Ridge, I can go with you and I can film you and even get some more footage and stuff like that. Yes. However, in the short term, I totally agree with you in terms of getting this editorial calendar down, nailing this down. The three closing scenarios: yes, full out Dave and Dustin sale, the non-sale, then the if all statements, if all this could do for you, if all about understanding the why it could do for you was reduced turnover for you, not by 30%, but just say 10%. What would that mean to you? Blah 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 blah. So it's not about coming back to making a sale, but coming back to understanding the concept, and of course the way you get the magic sauce. It's me. Those things we really need to iron down, and I think what you're doing, bro, is exactly what you need to be doing, is just testing these things out. And what we need to be clear on is like, this is exactly what I did, and this comes back to Bobby's point. This is exactly what I did, and then this was the this was the result I got.
Right.
If we could see that and live it, because then you have your impression of what you think you did. Us being out in the audience, or at least somebody participating and seeing what it is that you did, it's a different perspective, and that's the way, sort of like Tony Robbins style. I mean, Tony has a camera on his people the entire time, and every time he does a new workshop, there's one minute thing he changes, and then he goes back and observes the footage and looks at the body language of the people that were with him to see what kind of a response they got. I mean, he is to that degree. I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's also why he's the #1 guy in the world by like an enormous margin.
Yeah,
exactly.
He's got it down. But that Fetty, just to recap what you said, though I understand it. That's kind of brilliant. And Riz, you may already be doing this. What he's saying is all the techniques that we use and we've learned from Dave and Dustin, and that you use to build the value and the if all questions and everything like that. Generally, we associate that with when you're building up to sell something. But maybe even if you're not selling something, or you're not allowed to sell something, you can still use those techniques to make sure they get what you're telling them, so they do it. So you can kind of change the reason, so that way. But at the same time, you're building the value of this. So not only do they do it, but then when you're following up with them later, that hey, would you like us to do it for you? Would you like us to help you do it after the fact? I don't know. You see the distinction there. Maybe you're already doing that, where you do a lot of these closing techniques, not to close on a sale, but to close on a justification of them listening to you and following your advice and doing what you're saying.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. I mean, so here's where if you futurecast and you say, okay, how does this thing become just freaking really an amazing machine that enables us all to not only enjoy life but be very successful, then it becomes, where is the absolute best use of talent, and how do we set that up for success? Like for me, it's crystal clear that if I'm doing 4 to 6 speaking jobs a month, I feed so much new lead material into the machine that it drops out sales automatically. And that's the biggest advantage that I have over everybody else in the marketplace.
Absolutely.
So what is the one thing I need to be constantly focused on? Where's the next speaking job? How do I get the next speaking gig? And what we're talking about is being disciplined enough to get together ahead of each one, to talk about what we're going to do at that event, to then analyze the results every single time, so that every single time we're dropping sales out of the machine as we go forward. Tomorrow is hard. Tomorrow is a hard sales situation. But on the 19th of May, so that's just a couple of weeks out, I have 60 CEOs, of which I have a 1-hour keynote and then a 1-hour workshop in groups of 20. So I have 4 hours in a row that I'm working, but it couldn't be a better setup to get intimate with somebody. When I have, so what does that look like? How do we change it? What does it look differently? What is the PowerPoint? You know what I'm saying? I just want to do this every single time so that you guys can go, well, last time you did this and that worked, and last time you did this and we didn't see a lot of result from that, and just tweak it, because we should be able to get to a place where we're analyzing metrics based on, okay, how many people are going to be there? What's the demographic? What do we expect in terms of a sale? What's our target? What do we expect? So for me, going into tomorrow, my target would be 2. What I'd love to see is 1. If I get less than 1, I'm not going to call it a failure because it's a very tough market.
And it's
but
a
it
learning
is.
process.
It's a process. But I want to be able to get to, I'm going to Chicago and there's 60 people there. Well, out of 60 people in that kind of environment, I'd like to see a solid 6 sales. At target, let's go for 12. But if I see 6, I'm happy. Like out of Australia, I had 10 super hot leads for expensive workshops. If I get 5 of those to come through, based on how complicated it was, where we are, how we, I wasn't really all that organized, etc., and a number of things that didn't work, which I'll share with you on Friday. If I get 5, I'm happy. So far, I've gotten 2 that are coming through that looks like for sure that are saying schedule me. So now I've heard from 5. I've lost 3. I've gotten 2. So now I'm like, okay, I got 5 more. Hopefully, I'll lose 2 and get 3.
Right. Hey, real quick, what time is our meeting set for Friday? I think I have it on my other calendar. I just want to make sure in case I didn't.
It's at 9:30 your time.
9:30. Okay. 9:30 Eastern time. Okay, very good. I do have it in my other. Now that I think about it, I do have it on my calendar. All right. Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, it would be great if on that event on May 19th, if you could film you doing the presentation and somehow get some recording of the workshop. Is the event coordinators, are they filming that or no?
Well, so I'm pretty sure that with our video cam, I could probably get one of the workshops. I am all but certain that they will not permit me to film the keynote.
Okay, well, I'm just throwing it out. How valuable would that be to have that, to pick it apart and look at it? If you want to have feedback on it after the fact, okay, I could have done this better. This was great. This could be, wouldn't that be?
Yeah, no. I think
valuable.
Well, and I'd love to do it with you guys so that it's not just me doing it by myself, because that would be even more valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you should have seen the shit they sent me I had to sign off on. I by being the Mr. Super Nice Guy, this is American Funds, right? So they run the 529 educational programs for all university students in the United States. I mean, anybody you talk to who lives in the U.S. that has investments is in American Funds somewhere. They wouldn't even let me give something away ahead of time to the participants.
Wow.
I was even willing to send it to them. No, legal said no. So I've managed to finagle it to, I have a workbook for people to use in the workshops, and I got permission yesterday to just bring that for people.
Hey, that's a step. It's awesome.
And so then, to give you an idea of how this works, and this is because of it's a big corporation. So then I'll bring the workbook. I'll show that to the organizers. It will not contain the opt-in. I will then have the little opt-ins over on the side. At the end, I will say, I'd love to be able to say the more fleshed out version. Anybody that would like it, just give me your business card. I'd be happy to send that to you as a gift. If you don't have a business card, I got a little form here. Just fill out your name and email. And that's, believe me, that's all I can fucking say. I mean, that's like,
yeah, that's fine. That's under those circumstances, that's great doing that. Yeah.
So it's a constant like that kind of thing. All right, guys. Well, then I'm good for tomorrow. I'll be getting organized, and then we are set then for 6:30 my time to be.
Yeah, I'll set the Hangouts for a half hour earlier.
And the email that I'm going to write right now, like following right here, and send to you, will send people to the link of the Hangout.
Right, and what I think I'm going to
Mhm.
do is when I get that link, as you know from seeing it, it's a real long link. I'm going to make a nice little, little slash
Oh,
hangout
make it.
link,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
forward to it, and it'll, that's fine. That's
Yes.
fine.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Well,
All right,
awesome.
sounds good. Now, Feta, do you want to
Yeah.
convene on Skype?
Let's you and I let's touch base on Skype, and you do your thing, set it up, turn everything back off, and then let's see if we can get back on.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
guys. Thank
I
you
talk
so
to you later,
much.
All right.
man. Take
Hey,
care.
Rich,
I'll send you
an
I'll
awesome
send you that
idea,
webinar.
All right,
and
send me
thanks
the
for the
email.
invite
Okay.
of doing this.
No, for sure, bro. We all
Yeah.
know how big this can be. We just got to make it
Yeah.
happen.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
All right, guys.
All right,
Thank you.
man. Take
Adios.
care.
Cuídate.
Ciao.
Yeah.
Adios.
Ciao.
Adios, amigos.